Voice of Cincinnati Reds, and you're up for Late Night Reds Talk.
Well, hey, what is going on? Welcome into another edition of Late Night Reds Talk Live, part of the Believe Network, sponsored as always by our friends at Bet Online. My name is Nick Kirby. Tim Daniel once again is avoiding the show. We might have him coming on. There he is. Tim, right in the nick of time.
Right? Yeah. As I make fun of myself for missing last week, my power goes out right as Mo logs on this episode. So, Mo, I'm very sorry.
That's what I do to people.
Yeah.
It's not you, we promise.
Yeah, it's definitely not you. Believe me. Well, I guess it worked out. I'm excited to be here. What I miss? Anything good? Anything important yet?
Nope. You're just in time to do the ad read. So go ahead.
That I, of course, do not have up yet. Yeah. I'm
all right.
Roll.
Well, don't worry. I got it up here in the last minute.
What would I do without you, Nick?
Our partners at Bet Online continue to be the #1 source for all your betting needs and sports info. Find all the latest odds, news, and sports development, including this year's basketball championship finals, the NHL Hockey Conference Finals, Major League Baseball, the latest fighting news, and even next year's early NFL futures. Head to the website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Just use our promo code BELIEVE, that is BLEAVE, to get your bonus and get into the action. Bet Online is where the game starts.
See, you didn't even need me for that.
No, don't think so.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Mo, we're excited you're here. 3-time guest now, right?
I think so. Yeah, I was trying to think. I think I've been on 3 times.
Yeah. So
who's been on the most?
I think you're tied with Clay Snowden.
Okay, very good. That's good company.
Yeah.
Clay's been on a lot.
He has been on a lot. Which, speaking of, I guess Clay is going to be talking with our good friend Aram Layton this Thursday at 8 p.m. on YouTube for Just Baseball, a little Reds prospect Q&A, which if you're a Reds fan, all you know about are prospects because that's all people talk about anymore. So that's exciting stuff. I'm really excited to get Aram's thoughts on that. We had him on during the offseason, kind of broke down the top 10 prospects, which a few of those guys we're actually seeing contribute to the Major League team now. So actually, Mo, as we bring you on here to talk about that, obviously a really unfortunate start to the season, as fortunate as it gets. But I will say that, played better baseball above 500 since the 3-22 debacle, which, still hasn't gotten them out of the cellar, obviously. But seeing this kind of group of young starting pitching kind of really take their step, Hunter Green just got National League Player of the Week. We got a little bit Nick Lodolo before he got hurt. Graham Ashcraft's made some starts, and really we kind of seem to overlook Connor Overton, who has some really good starts before he got injured as well. What do you it feels like this is kind of direction the team's looking to quote unquote build. And I know our fan base does not like the term build because it seems like they feel like they don't have a plan, but it seems like at least there's something to look forward to as far as a group of young starting pitching to be excited about.
Yeah, it's why for all the deserved skepticism that exists and for all the frustration with ownership, it's why I hate the comparisons to 2015, to the last time they did this, because I don't think it's that difficult to identify if this works, if what they're doing works, and in a couple of years they're contending for something meaningful. It's not that hard to identify around whom that's going to happen, right? It's going to be Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo. It's going to be the young arms they have in the system. It's going to be Jonathan India. It's going to be Tyler Stephenson, Reds catcher or first baseman Tyler Stephenson. It's not hard to identify who it's going to be, and then it gets to be really intoxicating, and I can sometimes roll my eyes at those who only want to talk about prospects, but it can be intoxicating to look at what's happening at Dayton right now, how well that team is performing and performing with guys that seem to have legitimate major league futures. And so I don't like the comparison to 2015, 2016, because I remember often during those years going, when are we going to find out what the core is? When are we going to find out what they're going to build around? It took a few years for that to happen. I think we know the core of guys they want to build around. Now it remains to be seen, obviously, how good some of these guys end up being. What is Hunter Green's true ceiling? I think we all think it's really, really high, but is he going to realize his immense potential? Are the guys who have either arrived at the big league level or are about to arrive at the big league level, are they as good as advertised? Can they stay healthy? Can they make enough of an instant impact that maybe this team can win something or contend for something substantial in a couple of years? And is the promise that exists in the lower reaches of the organization, does that actually turn into something that's tangible on the big league level? But I think it's easy to identify. If the Reds are good anytime soon, it's going to happen around a core of guys that's not that difficult to identify. And we couldn't say that in 2015, in 2016, and 2017, when we were just watching the Reds cycle random dudes through, like, I don't know, Asher Wojciechowski. And
that was the first name I thought of.
Yeah, Asher Wojciechowski, because I actually listened to somebody with a straight face compare him to Roger Clemens. Like that happened in my life. And he was like, well, his build, the way he looks. I'm like, just stop. I mean, I don't even know how to spell Wojciechowski. But, they were just, Scott Feldman and all these dudes they were using. They're really not doing that so much right now. They're utilizing guys at the major league level in 2022 that you can envision having success in the not so distant future. And that's despite the record, despite as frustrated as we have all been with the direction they've taken the club, that is still pretty exciting.
It is. I think one of the things too that, to kind of give the devil its due is, and a lot of these guys are probably definitely performing over their head. Guys like Albert Amora Jr., are definitely going over expected, but guys like Brandon Drury, they kind of found, and maybe they lucked into, but like the performance they're getting from those guys, Drury especially, has definitely been kind of reassuring to say, like, maybe if they don't start 3-22, we're having a different conversation about this team right now.
Yeah, I think to a degree it's a credit to the baseball people that, all right, it's not like they wanted to trade Jesse Winker and Eugenio Suarez. They probably wanted to trade Suarez, but it's not like they wanted to just unload a bunch of former all-stars. They were told by ownership to do that, right? But they were also then told, hey, you got to fill the roster and, do it with some guys who aren't going to necessarily be bargain basement dudes. I guess Almora would be the exception to that perhaps, but hey, go find some guys that can be useful and capable. And they've done that. Brandon Drury has a decent chance to be their all-star. I mean, who would have wagered on that to begin the season? Albert Almora, I knew as, the dude who was in Chicago and was a good defensive center fielder. And, offensively, you really weren't scared by him. And he's proven to be useful. Matt Reynolds has proven to be useful. The baseball operations people were told, go find some guys that can help. And they did. Now, they're not helping to the degree that we would all like, because the start was so bad and the team top to bottom isn't all that good. And, you could certainly hold Nick Krall accountable for a lot of things when it comes to maybe the construction of the bullpen and things like that. But if you're judging him solely by, hey, they had to fill the roster with some guys who are useful, they did that. And that's not always the case. It hasn't always been the case here. It is the case this season.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So if we show here, obviously today the Reds took a tough 7-4 loss, but another nice outing from Luis Castillo, which brings us to bullpen discussion. I know, Mo, you're excited about this one. Ooh, baby. So, your comrade, your coworker Lance had a tweet today that said, how can the Reds front office be taken serious with throwing a bullpen like this? after the bullpen they had last year. And like at first I thought like the beginning of the year, I was like, maybe it's not so bad. Alexis Diaz is pretty good. But it is kind of like where everything's kind of falling apart, it seems. Tony Santillan, obviously not as good as he was last year. Luis Cessa, Justin Wilson being hurt. It's been, what we kind of just talked about as far as like just throwing random dudes out there. It's almost, I wouldn't say we're there, but we're teetering there. We're getting there.
Yeah, and then there's the criticism that's valid of the front office. And, this has been, when was the last time that you felt like they had a collection of guys that when that bullpen gate flung open, you felt pretty good about who's coming out? Maybe to a degree, 2020, the shortened season. But over the course of a full year, I was talking about this the other night, and I did so in such a foolish manner that I said the Reds finished 32nd were 32nd in Major League Baseball in bullpen ERA, which is hard to do because there's only 30 teams. But if you go back to, and I know ERA is only one somewhat outdated stat in judging a unit's or a pitcher's effectiveness, but still, since 2014, the best the Reds have finished in bullpen ERA was 13th, and they've only done that once. So they've been in the bottom half of the league for almost a decade, every single year in bullpen ERA. And again, I know it's just one somewhat limiting statistic, but to me that illustrates a major problem for this team. And the frustration for me is with the organization and the front office, but also just the way a lot of people talk about relief pitching. I'm old enough to remember when your bullpen had like one guy that opposing teams were scared of, and he would come in and get the last 3 outs or the last 6 outs. And then, nobody else was really throwing hard. Maybe there was a lefty specialist, but the bullpen was just where you stuck, an injured starter or a guy that you used, and he would start, the other game of a doubleheader, and he would only pitch if a game was a lost cause. And you really didn't care about those guys back there because the expectation was the starting pitcher that night, win or lose, was going to pitch 6, 7, 8, maybe 9 innings. I'm old enough to remember watching guys lead the league in complete games with 21. Well, the reality is relief pitching has never mattered more. We're using more relievers in games than ever before. We're going to them earlier in games than ever before. They're being asked to get more high leverage outs than ever before. Good managers and good organizations are more creative with their bullpen than they've ever been. And so it's time to start talking about that area of the team as one that matters almost as much as starting pitching, right? I mean, at the end of the day, if starters on average aren't getting to the 6, that means the bullpen is occupying close to half the game. They're being asked to get close to half the outs. Well, okay, then it's really time to start emphasizing that area. The Reds are, I think, occupying or devoting, I think it's a little bit over 5% of the overall team payroll to the bullpen. The big league average this year is 11%. Well, it's time to get closer to the league average. It's time to stop talking about the bullpen as a place that you go and you stick a guy who used to be good, or, hey, we got this guy on the cheap because, nobody else wanted him, but man, he was really good 3 years ago, or we really can't figure out what to do with this guy, so we're just going to jam him in the bullpen. And by the way, the rules have changed. And so if you put a reliever in the game, you can't yank him after one batter anymore. So to me, the way we talk about the bullpen every offseason, when we sort of outline like how good are the Reds going to be, and again, this is maybe more of a fan thing than anything, it's we talk about the position players and the starting rotation, and then we talk about the bench and the manager, and then it's finally we get around to relief pitching. And it's time to stop doing that. It's time to talk about that unit and for the front office to value that unit in a more modern way. And I just don't feel like that's happening here. It feels like the strategy in the bullpen has often been to just fill it out with some random guys, fill it out with, let's see if Sean Doolittle can recapture the magic. And I was not opposed to the Hunter Strickland signing. Obviously that hasn't worked out, but did it really feel like this offseason they went to the end of the earth to construct the best possible bullpen? No, it feels like, again, it's just kind of a random collection of guys. And there have been some individual successes. Alexis Diaz has been fantastic, but still, there's just too often when you feel like in the middle of the game, and certainly toward the end of the game, like, I don't know who I want out here right now. That's really devastating as a fan, and it's got to be extraordinarily crippling if you're a manager. And that's my biggest beef for the people who want to complain about David Bell. To me, you really can't judge how good or bad a manager is until you equip him with what he needs in the bullpen, because to me, that's the most direct impact a manager has on a game. It's a long answer.
Yeah, but, I got to listen to you earlier this week talk about that, and I couldn't agree anymore. I feel like the bullpen trend is going to go away from having a closer for them getting paid the money for a guy who comes in the fifth inning and can throw the sixth inning when the best hitters are up.
Yeah.
We always talk about high leverage situations. We want that guy, but I think it's going to start getting paid that way. So guys are going to want to be able to throw multiple innings at a time, because that's more important than ever. We freak out whenever Hunter Green gets to 103 pitches. We freak out whenever Tyler Malley threw 100 and whatever he threw last week, because that's the most he's ever thrown. And I'm like, 100. I threw that in college. I threw 125 in college. And then I still played years of pro ball. These guys have done that, and they kind of regress. And I understand it's a long season. You kind of got to, baby your investment. But at the same time, those relievers, they're more important than ever. And you're right. They've got to change that, instead of just relying on failed starters to become a bullpen, because that's a totally different mentality, totally different position. It's not even close to being the same.
Yeah, and even this year with the shortened spring training, there was going to be a shorter leash on starters than even we normally have. And what I get frustrated, and a guy called me the other night, and when I was talking about this, and he's like, well, back in the day, Nolan Ryan threw 300 innings, and I'm like, yeah, he's Nolan Ryan. Don't compare anybody to him. Number two, that's not the modern realities of the game. Okay, so you have to operate within the modern realities of the game. And the modern realities of the game are dudes aren't going out there heaving it 140 times. God, we saw Tyler Malley last night, and I felt like I was a kid again. And it was awesome, and he was great. But even when he came out for the ninth inning, first of all, just for the purposes of winning the game, I wasn't sure that was going to work out, and it did. But it was bizarre to even at the end of the night. Fortunately, they won the game. There's a 9 under IP, and it's so jarring. It happens so infrequently, and you can complain about that. And there's the part of me that would love the idea of watching Hunter Green take the mound every single time he goes out, thinking he can go 9. He's not. That's just not how the game is regulated. It's not how it's coached. It's not how guys are developed. So you have to operate within those modern realities, and the modern reality suggests that you've got to do more to put together a bullpen every single year. And your manager deserves that. And this manager, for the most part, and his predecessor, I don't think have been given legitimate chances because of the bullpens they haven't had. I've said often, when David Bell goes to the mound to make a pitching change, as that bullpen gate flings open and some random dude comes charging out, he should turn toward the owner's box or turn to the GM's box and go, look, what do you want me to do? And so that's got to change for this organization. That's got to change. And if it doesn't change anytime soon, then the results are going to be, I think, pretty limited.
Yeah. I don't want to go on about the bullpen too long, but just real quick, today's game, when they brought in, whenever they left Art Warren in past those 3 batters after he clearly didn't have his good stuff, and then with 2 lefties coming up, they don't go to Reaver San Martin, and I'm blowing a gasket. And I'm talking about bringing in a guy who just got recalled. He got sent down because he wasn't good enough. And I'm over here. That's how equal it is throughout the bullpen. Everybody is just about that good. So I'm over here begging for them to bring a guy in that they just brought up from AAA. It's crazy. Yeah,
that's the thing. I even said on the air the other day, I'm like, I'm oddly excited about Reaver San Martin coming up, and I shouldn't be. But compared to what we're watching right now, who knows? You might as well try. It feels like it in recent seasons, and again, last year, it wasn't anybody's fault that Amir Garrett just didn't pitch very well. And it wasn't anybody's fault that, Michael Lorenzen got hurt. Those things happen. But it feels like way too often when they go to the bullpen, you're just it feels like they're just throwing stuff up against the wall. And that's unsettling as a fan, and it's got to be really hard if you're a manager.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked for you to be on is because, again, I've been listening to the show, and one of the main talking points right now is Tyler Stephenson and, the move to first base. If you want to give a quick second, give everybody your stance on why you think that the Reds should move there, and then we can just talk about it from there.
Yeah, sure. Well, first of all, after watching Chris Oakey and Aramis Garcia, I've softened my stance a little because I didn't think I could. I think I might have thrown my shoulder out throwing my remote at the second wild pitch last night. But Tyler Stevenson's an all-star catcher, and he's turned himself into a very good defensive player. And if the Reds were in the thick of things, yeah, keep him a catcher. That's best for the team, and they're in the thick of things because they're set everywhere else. The reality is they're not in the thick of things. You've got a guy who's gone through multiple concussions. I think highly of him as an offensive player. I want his bat in the lineup. He's being asked to play a very physically demanding position, and he plays it well. You could put him behind the plate for the next 10 years and probably get really high level play behind the plate. And the guys are going to love throwing to him, and you're set there and you're good. And the only question you're going to have is who's going to back him up. But the concussions are reality. The demanding nature of the position physically is a reality. And the fact that this team is better with him in the lineup, to me, is reality as well. There's also, we don't know who's going to play first base post 2023, as much as none of us want to imagine life without Joey Votto. We're closer to that being reality than I think some realize. And maybe Joey's on the team somehow in 2024. I don't know that that's going to make the sort of fiscal sense that we would all like, but okay. But, right now, who's the first baseman moving forward? Well, it's not Joey in all likelihood. So who is it? I oversimplify this, admittedly, because people say, well, then who's going to catch? And I go, well, who cares? Go find somebody. I think I said they should put a sack of sand back behind the plate, and honestly would probably be better at stopping wild pitches than Chris Oakey right now. And I know it's not that simple. I know it's much more complex than that. It's hard to find high-end catchers. And if you move Tyler Stephenson to first base, you are sacrificing a guy who's turned himself into a very good defensive catcher, but I want to protect him. The concussions are unavoidable. And I'm no brain trauma expert, but the more you get, the more susceptible you are to them. He's already had to go on the injured list twice this year. I want to minimize the possibility of that. And I want to maximize what he can do offensively. And so to me, I want to protect him and I want to maximize him. The best way to do that is to not have him behind the plate. Now, if there was a long-term first base solution, or if there were no DH in the National League and Votto's 31 years old and in his prime and he's playing first base, this is a different conversation. If the Reds were contending for something this year and the team was pretty well stocked and you don't want to screw with what you're doing now, then it's a different conversation. But you have the flexibility now to try some stuff out. And so even if you're not married to the idea that he's going to be a first baseman long-term, why not work him in there occasionally? He's played 140 or so big league innings at first base. It's not like haven't toyed with the idea. It's not like he hasn't gotten some reps there. So I would like to do that in the short term. And by the way, if Tyler Stephenson is your third catcher, first of all, you no longer have to use your backup catcher as DH and worry about what's going to happen. Second of all, that's pretty good. It's not that he should never catch again. I just don't want that to be his main gig, his main position, at least for now. I'm open to the idea that you try this and then you go, screw it, this isn't the best course of action, but I think you owe it to the player, and I think you owe it to just what the season dictates, and the season dictates you can try some stuff. And so for those reasons, I know you disagree, and that's awesome, but I for those reasons, I'd like to see them try him at first base.
Yeah, we need a different perspective on here because we're all disagreeing. So we're happy to have you. Mo, before we get you out of here, we actually got a question last night that I know you are kind of along the lines of a little different than I am.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably more with most other people. Talk about the extra inning rule. You hate it, right?
I do. I'm not going to say it didn't create some excitement last night. That game last night was immensely fun, right?
Oh, yeah.
But that was it for 9 innings. That's a terrific baseball game. High-end starting pitching, legitimate questions about strategy. I don't side with those who wanted to see Nick Senzel bunt. I don't really understand why you would have a guy who's never laid down a sacrifice bunt in his big league career. I don't know why you would do that. I want him to try to get a hit there. I'm very, for the most part, much anti-bunting, but I do like those discussions. I like, conversations about strategy and, should Votto be pinch run for, and do you bring Malley back out for the 9th inning? All that stuff is great. It's a great baseball game. Diamondbacks executed just a picture perfect 8-4-2 on what I thought was a pretty decent send. You got to make them make a play, and they made one to perfection. And then in the 10th inning, we play an entirely different sport. It's just not baseball to me. And I know that's a very sort of old man yelling at clouds thing. I also feel like, to a degree, that this is a solution in search of a problem. How many 16, 17, 18, 19 inning games did we have prior to 2020? We really didn't have that many. Most extra, and I had the numbers in front of me because when we talked about them continuing the rule this when the lockout ended, I looked at all this stuff up. The number of games that go beyond the 11th inning, the percentage of the percentage of games is not that high. The percentage of extra inning games that go beyond the 11th inning isn't extraordinarily high. Certainly not extraordinarily high, the ones that go past the 12th. And so, all right, we get sometimes these 13, 14, 15, 16 inning games. To me as a fan, those are fun because they're different. Now, I will acknowledge this, in part because bullpens are being called upon earlier than ever before. There are legitimate questions about, well, what if you run out of pitchers? What if you have an Aaron Harang pitching in San Diego sort of thing? And I really do understand that. I just don't think that you have enough of these super long extra inning games where you're in legitimate danger of running out of guys to the point that you have to fundamentally change how the game is played. And to me, what we do in the 10th inning is not baseball. It's a cheapened version of baseball. And I was listening on the TV broadcast last night. John Sadak, who's a big fan of this podcast, and Chris Welsh were talking about, well, in other sports, when they get to their version of extra time, they do alter how the game is played. College football does, the NFL does, soccer does, hockey does. But in those sports, they're trying to avoid a tie, which in most of those sports used to be a part of the result. And those are also more physically demanding sports. We're not trying to avoid ties in baseball. I know some have made the argument we should have them, and it's not as physically taxing a sport as, say, hockey or football. So to me, last night, and I'm the first to admit that, yeah, to a degree, we're starting with a guy on second base. I don't like changing the game itself when for 9 innings, the game has been great. We're playing one way, and then we're playing this entirely different way in an effort to stop something that wasn't happening all that often to begin with. By the way, the Reds were in San Francisco 6-7 years ago, late night game. They play 18, 19 innings. Game ends at like 4:30 local time. And I loved, and like listening to the announcers get cranky because it screwed up their dinner plans and stuff. Like to me, those games are somewhat fun. And I'll have people say, well, Mo, but nobody's in the stands in the 10th or 11th or 12th inning. Well, many people are leaving before the 8th or the 9th. So, I mean, at what point do you go, look, folks aren't going to stay for a 3-hour game, so they're not going to stay for a 4-hour game. I'm rambling here, but it's not baseball. And it's to me something that is not necessarily being done to address a major problem in the sport.
Never will I ever forget the 2011 Phillies game when Wilson Valdez got a win against the Reds.
Yeah. Yes. Jay Bruce hit a home run, I think, in the 9th inning to tie it, right?
Brandon Phillips got picked off at second in the 12th.
Yeah. Great game, right? And when Wilson Valdez came in, pitching against his former team, right? Or no, pitching against his future team.
Yeah.
Pitching against a team that he would once get a suicide squeeze walk-off sac bunt against. Mm-hmm. Wilson Valdez did that the following year against the Tigers.
And play center field in Game 5.
Yes, yeah. But I remember that night. Like those games, they're so weird because they happen so infrequently. And again, I'm watching this as a fan. If I'm a manager, I even remember that night or in some of those games, you're like, all right, does it make sense to just put a position guy out there and lose the game so you have a chance to win the next one? I think those are interesting discussions. And I'll never forget Aaron Harang on Memorial Day weekend against the Padres and wondering, is this going to screw him up? And maybe it did, maybe it didn't. But I just don't think that those long, super long, lengthy games happen frequently enough to change how we play every extra inning. I would even listen to arguments that say, look, once we get to the 12th or once we get to the 13th, then, we're going to start with a guy on second base or we're going to start with a guy on first base. I would actually even listen to, well, can we compromise and start the 10th inning with a guy on first base? But then I think you're going to see more sacrifice bunting. And fortunately, we really haven't seen that much with a guy on second. But as a general rule, like last night, that was a really good game for 9 innings. And then in the 10th, the whole thing felt kind of cheap. Those last 3 innings were insanely exciting. I'll grant you that. But we played what I think is a fundamentally different sport, and I'm not here for it.
Is that Carlos Garcia that you're putting up there, Nick?
Carlos Fisher. He threw
Fisher.
He threw like 90 pitches in relief in that game. That game was
That's
hard.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the one. For some reason, I remember that game very well. Well, Mo, I know you said you only had a few minutes, so I got to ask you this before I get here because even though you're probably sick of me asking you basketball questions, you're the only person in Cincinnati media I can ask basketball stuff to. Does Golden State close it out tomorrow?
I think they do. I think if they don't, it's going to be really interesting to see how the pressure shifts to Golden State. If I'm a Boston fan, it's driving me nuts how Steph has a bad shooting game. He didn't have a bad game, but he had a bad shooting game. And yet my team just flung the ball all over the place. The Celtics let that game get away. Their bench has done nothing. Tatum is shooting like 28% from inside the arc. They missed a ton of free throws in game 5. Like that game was there for the taking. But this Boston team has come off the mat so many times, did so against Milwaukee, did so against Miami, to a degree did so game 3 against Golden State. So every time it feels like the walls are closing in on them, they have figured out a way to steer things back on course. I think it's going to be really interesting to see the way the first 12 minutes play out, because does Golden State deliver a knockout blow? Does Boston get up? Or, energized by the home crowd, can the Celtics play from ahead and then withstand what is likely to be a Steph Curry barrage? Because you certainly don't expect him to not hit a 3. But if Boston wins tomorrow and suddenly they got to go back to San Francisco, I think the pressure is enormous on Golden State. And so I kind of believe if the Warriors don't win game 6, Boston's going to win game 7, but I don't think Boston's going to win game 6.
Yeah, I feel the same way, for sure. Well, man, it's always great to have you on. It's good to see you. Will I see you in a couple weeks at TBT?
Yes, I'm going. Yes.
Fun.
I'm looking forward to it. I am going.
Awesome. Well, Mo, it's always a pleasure. You're welcome here anytime, man.
Anytime you want me, you know how to get a hold of me. Thanks, guys.
All right, appreciate it, man.
Mo.
See you guys anytime.
Well, the line right now is Golden State plus 3.5. So if you're listening to Mo's advice, head on over to Bet Online, 50% deposit bonus. Use a promo code BELIEVE.
I think that's a good bet.
Yeah, I think that's a good bet. Has anyone ever won at Golden State in Game 7 though in the NBA Finals?
I think your home city might have done that one time. Yeah.
Good times.
Man. Well, I know we got a few things we want to talk before we get out of here. I want to first give a quick shout out to Carlos, who last week was on the Riverfront, my apparent enemy, as the Twitter wars have broken out. And Chad did clarify that there is no animosity. It is pure hatred on the episode. So, Chad, I don't like you very much. Actually, I love you. You're welcome on here anytime. So I'm ready to bury the hatch when you are, if you're listening.
If you're out there.
Nick was
Damn it,
also
that
on.
sucks. I didn't get to have my conversation with Mo, my stupid computer.
My
I don't know
power
what
goes
happened.
out right when the show starts.
The
Your
entire reason I
computer-
wanted him to come on was so we could talk about Tyler Stephenson. And
we'll set up like a side pod where you guys can just
we'll
hash it
probably
out.
have to just do it over beers whenever I come up to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Next month.
If anyone has wants to buy some late night Reds merch so we can get Carlos to fly up here, that would be definitely appreciated. LateNightReds.merchmake.com, where we sell t-shirts and hats and stuff. No, we don't sell hats yet. But Carlos
Granny
needs
panties.
dog bandana / women's underwear, according to Carlos. But we need flight money. Flight money is very important for Carlos to get up here, because I don't know if you guys have seen or not. Flights are insane. But yeah, so LateNightReds.merchmake.com, where you can get all of our cool swag. I immediately regret the decision to say swag there, so you guys can find me for that one if you want. All right, so today, Art Warren. Are we is there anything worth saying about Art Warren at this point with how much he struggled?
He's got options.
He's got options.
But do the Reds.
They could swap Moreta or,
Yeah.
At this point, why not?
Move the deck chairs around a little bit.
Yeah, that poor bullpen, man. Oof. It was
Yeah.
gonna catch up to him sooner or later.
Yeah, man. It's like, I don't know. Like today, when Drury hit the homer, which is awesome, obviously. What that guy's been able to do is insane. It's been a joy to watch. I'd love to see him be in Cincinnati for a little longer, if possible, if he, escapes the trade deadline, is still a Red. But, I felt a dread immediately. And I know that's how you should feel when you tie a game when Zach Gallen got 17 guys in a row out. You know what I mean? And so, like, knowing, like, all right, cool, we tied this up, we have a chance. But then you're like, oh, right, this guy's going to come in, and this isn't going to go well. And it was, I hated that I felt that way. But I honestly, that's really how I felt after the Drury homer.
Yeah, it feels like you're going to get something different every day. I mean, I thought, overall they pitched pretty well last night. Wild pitches aside, I mean, I think there's only one runner that wasn't the ghost runner that scored. So yeah, you're getting something different every night, I guess. I don't know.
2 years in a row that we're talking about that. Like, I was thinking about when Mo was talking about the last time the Reds had like a bullpen you felt like you could count on. And like, is there something more recent, Nick, you would know this better than me, than the Marshall, Broxton, Chapman trio? Has there been something since then that's been like feasible?
Not really. I mean, nothing that good. I mean, the Reds had Iglesias, David Hernandez, and Jared Hughes that were all really, really good. I think it was probably 2018 maybe. I mean, I think they all had like ERAs in the two or low threes.
They did? Holy shit!
You look it up, man. I'm not making it up. They had
I
one.
know you're not. But...
They had one year.
Everyone remembers Iglesias for that brutal year, but like really, he was really freaking good.
No, everybody remembers Iglesias in non-save situations.
Yeah.
That's what they hate on him for.
And then like Mo mentioned, I mean, I thought the 2020 bullpen, they got off to a really, really bad start, but then they were like incredible for like the last like month of that season. And they really threw a lot of innings. And then, I mean, I thought the bullpen the second half last year was pretty good when they had a lot of healthy guys and made all those trades. But yeah, I definitely don't think, to Mo's point, I don't think there was anything remotely close to that 20. I think it even went into 2013, right?
Yeah, because Marshall got hurt in, I think, 14.
Yeah. Actually, Iglesias was the no, it was 2018.
He was an all-star one year for the Reds, wasn't he?
Yeah, 2018, Iglesias had a 2.38 ERA, Jared Hughes had a 1.94, and David Hernandez had 2.53. And this was 66, 72, and 57 games. Garrett was in that bullpen, 4.29. Lorenzen had 3.11 in 45 games. I mean, I
remember him being good that year, yeah.
That was a pretty good bullpen. It was just their starting pitching was absolute garbage, so it didn't really matter. I mean, they didn't have a starter have an ERA below 4.3, and then had some really good hitters and some really, really bad hitters. So, but yeah, 2018. I don't know. I guess looking at the numbers again, 2018 was pretty good. I mean, I don't know. Some of that might have been fluky, like Jared Hughes 1.94 is a little fluky, but nonetheless, I mean, that was a really good bullpen.
Yeah, that was fun. Oh, man. Can we talk more about... Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Sorry, we did get some like questions in the comments. I didn't want to bypass them. We were kind of moving quick with Mo, so I didn't want to, kind of stop the conversation there. I want to acknowledge Carrick. I think Carrick's pretty much where the three of us, we've kind of exhausted our point, unless the doctor says he needs to move positions. And I agree. He can either be a good first baseman or a great catcher. I mean, so I think we're on that. Jim asked about why David Bell hasn't used lefties more. I know, Carlos, you were talking about wanting to see more out of River San Martin. I'll start with this. I just don't think the lefties are very good. I mean, I think the two left-handed pitchers they have are below average major league pitchers. You hope maybe San Martin could be decent, but I'm certainly not proven. So I just think he prefers the right-handed pitchers over the lefties. Carlos, you got any other thoughts on that?
Yeah, he's probably going off of their splits. They know that ahead of time on who their options are going to be that game on, on their high leverage situations. They start from, the highest leverage, and they go, we're going to go him, and then him, and then him, and then him. So they already know what they're going to do before the game, really, because to the point that our lefty relievers aren't good enough. And to my point earlier was I thought they should have brought him in was because I don't think anybody's good enough in that bullpen. You can't rely on anyone other than Diaz. Right now it's just, you can't rely on anybody. So that's why I'm like, you called him up. He was pitching well. Just let him have the chance. Why not? What is there to lose?
I miss
Maybe you find something there
so much.
Yeah, like I just felt like he could have done it. That would have been 2 good outings in a row out of the bullpen, one on a very high leverage situation. If it would have went well, and then you could have gone from there. This could be the beginning of something for Reaver, but I guess we'll wait and see.
It seems like Bell's only using his lefties like Detweiler against bad left-handed batters. He's not using him against Freddie Freeman. He'd just rather use his better right-handed pitcher. But if it's the Diamondbacks number 7 hitter who has a 520 OPS against left-handed pitchers, so yeah, that's the spot I want him in. So.
But now that I'm even thinking about it, it didn't make any sense. Why did he leave Art Warren out there for so long? After those first three hitters, he should have been out. And if he didn't want to go to Reaver and Martin, he could have gone to another right-hander. He should have had 2 guys going then, if that's what he wanted, because the game was on the line. And, I mean, he clearly didn't have it. I thought he waited 2 batters too long.
Yeah, I honestly agree with you. I do.
Know.
Yeah. Like I said earlier, I really missed
and he doesn't. I don't disagree with his bullpen calls very often. I feel like there might be 2 or 3 a year, but I'm playing Monday morning quarterback over here, so at the most part, I think he does a really good job.
This bullpen in MLB The Show is way better than it is in real life. I don't know if you know this or not, Carlos. They're pretty stacked.
Wait until the update comes out, buddy.
Yeah. Let's talk a little bit about. I feel like we've kind of talked about all the mopey things, and rightfully so. But dudes, I mean, Hunter Green gets National League Player of the Week last week. Yesterday, like we talked about a bit, Tyler Mahle goes 9 innings of shutout baseball, 12 strikeouts. Further proof the win is a very stupid stat. But, obviously what we're seeing from them has been awesome. Graham Ashcraft is really good. This has been fun, man. This has been if there's anything exciting to talk about right now with this team, it's definitely been what we're getting from the starting rotation.
I see Nick promoting his own tweets on here.
I was going to say, I make the slides. I do what I want.
I literally tweeted that out just to have that in there.
Hey, here's a good point. Hey, whenever you got the sticks, you can do what you want.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. I love it. I'm the king of self-promotion. So I'm all for anyone doing self-promotion.
Aye.
Anyway, where were we?
Yes, no, starting pitching's pitching really well. I shared with you guys earlier of the Reds' last 10 losses, 5 of them have gone to the bullpen. So I mean, that shows how bad the bullpen's been, but also shows how good the starters have been. That and they've been pitching very deep into games, and I mean, this is a really solid starting rotation right now. Just a shame didn't kind of have this at the beginning of the year.
Yeah, you think about too, so Justin Dunn hasn't pitched yet. Connor Overton's out. Obviously, Nick Lodolo is about to have a couple minor league rehab starts. So it's I don't know. I mean, Vlad Gutierrez has definitely been guaranteed he'll never start again with what they have coming up and what they currently have. But it's I guess it's the idea of and Carlos, you can speak this better than any of us, obviously, but there's never such thing as too many good starting pitchers, especially in a full 162 game season. But they're gonna have some really interesting decisions to make.
Yeah, it will be interesting. Is Mike Minor going to be our $10 million guy in the bullpen?
Remember, someone's got to start in the second half of the season after
Right.
Castillo's gone, maybe Malley's gone, Green's shut down, Ashcraft's is shut down. He might go to the bullpen for a little bit, but that doesn't mean he'll be starting again.
Yeah, Ashcraft would be a good guy to go in the bullpen at the end of the year because he really only has 2 pitches, so that's all he's going to throw.
I'm seeing him on
And
Saturday.
you don't have to worry about him like not progressing because he doesn't really work on his third pitch during the games now anyway. So interesting.
Yeah, it's And what's the latest on Justin Dunn? Like, is he ever going to pitch?
Who dat?
Justin Dunn is likely to begin a rehab assignment soon. He threw a bullpen session on June 12th in St. Louis.
Nice. Thanks, Nick. So yeah, this is part of the we do the minor league update and we kind of do the rehab assignment update because what other team in baseball can have a podcast where you can have a rehab update that's extensive like the Cincinnati Reds? David Bell said recently he could see a situation with Max Schrock kind of coming up and being part of the roster. He's got his share of at bats in Louisville. Donovan Solana, who I actually predicted would never have an at bat for the Reds, starting to look like I'm wrong there as he's played 5 games for AAA Louisville. Nick Lodolo heading to Louisville for at least 2 rehab starts. Pitched in a Arizona Fall League, a complex league game the other day. And then Jose Barrero, everyone's favorite prospect of the universe, is still finding his bat in Louisville. But I think right now that's probably. Can I say I feel like that's the best place for him right now? Or is everyone going to get mad at me with how well Kyle Farmer's played?
I think everybody agrees it's best for him to be in AAA right now. I think everybody's already given up on that.
Okay, making sure I'm still in. Like I haven't lost touch with everybody here. So
let me know that I tried to save everybody time last year by giving them all the answers. They didn't want to listen. You're
like Roddy Piper. Just when they have all the answers, you change the questions.
Yeah, I would expect Schrock joins the team on Friday. I would expect Solano has got to be close. I can't imagine they want to write out a rehab assignment. This is the only year you have of him, so
right.
And I wouldn't be shocked if they want to get Solano up, get him some at bats, to maybe be a guy they're thinking about trying to move at the trade deadline. So that's the other thing you have to factor in with Barrero is there's only 6 weeks to kind of showcase some of your players that you want to trade at the trade deadline, like potentially Kyle Farmer. So, yeah, he's not hitting, which kind of makes it an easy solution. I mean, he's not hitting well. I mean, 93 weighted runs created plus in AAA isn't, awesome. So, let him get going, let him get in a groove, and bring him up, and there'll be plenty of spots to play in August and September.
Yeah. Are you in the belief that Brandon Drury will not be a Red after August?
I don't know.
It's such a long time for him to keep playing well.
I know.
I mean, Drury had like a 111 OPS plus last year. I think people just kind of glossed over it. But it's like, oh, that was a fluke. It was only like 90 plate appearances. And I mean, and I'm one of them. When he came over, I saw the stats like, yeah, that doesn't match any of his other career numbers. But when you add that on top of what he's done this year, and then you also look at some of the advanced numbers, some of the StatCast numbers, everything looks legit to me. So I don't know. I mentioned I would love for them to be looking at like a 2-year contract extension for him.
Me
too. You have all these guys coming up like De La Cruz and Barrero and McLean here at some point, but Drury's a guy that can play multiple positions and kind of help you get to bridge that gap to them. Is going to be a very valuable player, or has the potential to be a very valuable player. So I don't know. I mean, I'm fine with them doing either way with them. I mean, looking at an extension. If someone's going to offer you something substantial back for him, then yeah, sure, you got to
absolutely, yeah,
a shop. But yeah,
I don't know, man. Yeah, that's a good point. So Red Scout 21 Cincy says someone will want Drury, especially since there's a DH in the National League. More teams will want to add bats. That's a great point.
Yeah. everyone could use Brandon Drury on their team.
Right.
The Dodgers could use Brandon Drury right now, but just his position flexibility, he's better than someone on everyone's bench.
So I got a question. So everybody go back to the list of the updates. We trade all of those guys. Who do we get in return?
All 5 of those, including Barrero?
All of
Noel?
them. Is that enough to get Juan Soto?
No.
Damn
Probably
it.
not. Probably not.
Who are we getting? Where's Clay when we need him?
Donovan Solano has about a 0 value, maybe.
Okay,
Max
cross him off the
Schrock
list.
has barely above a 0 value. Justin Dunn.
Well, they're just throw-ins.
Justin Dunn could probably on his own maybe get you a 20 to 25 team prospect because of his injury history, but he was a top prospect at one point.
We're talking big leaguer. I want a big leaguer in return.
No, I'm just going through these. Yeah, and Barrero and Lodolo, I mean, you package those two together, you could probably get a fringe all-star.
Yeah.
Brandon Drury. No.
Sold.
I will say,
Did you get a bat, right? You'd want a bat?
Yeah. I think I'm going to go ahead and resign from my presidency of the Nick Senzel fan club. I think I finally hit my point.
Well, I was about to give up on him, and then, I know he didn't have much to show for it the last 2 days, but he beat the crap out of the ball in Arizona. He had
I know. I saw that thing you retweeted.
He had four balls that would have been home runs in Cincinnati. So I don't know, man. Nick Senzel's a roller coaster.
It's frustrating because you can see the talent. You know he's talented.
Has there been very many ups, as many downs?
That's a fair point.
Yeah,
it's been a.
He's like that slow boat that just goes.
It like teeters in
slow motion.
It's like
and then splashes. Shit, he's hurt again.
Yeah,
because it's the thing. It's so frustrating. It's like you can see the talent. You can certainly see he's a really he's a talented guy, and it's like, but it's like Nick said, he has these hard hit balls right at somebody, or he gets injured, or it's like he has that play like a couple weeks ago where he gets thrown out at first base to end the game, and it's like, I don't know, man.
How many more years is you under the team control?
3? I think 3 before arbitration.
I think he has 4.
Oh shit!
Oh yeah, I forgot about service time because you got to play.
God, I feel already like it's a change of scenery time for him, but golly, we have so much time left.
He has 3 after this one because 2019 doesn't count because
then it doesn't make sense to trade him now.
Yeah, I mean, remember when they were talking about maybe the Reds can put him in a deal with the Indians to get Lindor? It's like that sounds insane now.
Nick Senzel is the case why you should trade your top prospects. Jonathan India's the case why you shouldn't. I mean, it's a crapshoot. How many times we try to trade Jonathan India for something, and we would have got fleeced.
Hell, Carlos, you were around when Joey was people were talking about trading him when he was a prospect. Thank God they didn't do that.
Yeah.
I remember when him and Jay being interviewed at spring training, and they were laughing about the fact that they were in every trade rumor, like before they got called up.
Imagine how they would have been now with social media.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Well, should we do our minor league showcase? Kind of highlight some of the performances there. Or am I skipping ahead?
Yeah, no, that's good. We got some more questions I want to get to at some point.
Cool. My guy, Chase Petty. Still bringing it. Big fan.
Now, what do we trade all these guys? Who do we get?
Bigger than probably the first one.
Yeah, I would say so.
Oh, come on.
Ellie De La Cruz, I heard, I don't remember who it was, but it was one of the top prospect rankings guys said that it was Zach Buchanan. Zach Buchanan now is doing prospect stuff for the Athletic, said that Ellie De La Cruz could be the number 1 prospect in baseball next year.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, dude, he's gonna shoot up. Right now he's at 68.
Right.
But he's gonna be top 10.
Well, I've watched the clip yesterday of that home run he hit in Dayton, And it's one of those things where, like, guys in A-ball, the bat doesn't sound like that. You know what I mean? Like, the way that sounded when he hit that homer was, like, pretty scary.
He's up to,
Dayton's
he
Dayton's
stole,
high A now, right? Sorry.
Yep.
Okay.
he stole 4 bases. Elliot Cruz has like got a permanent spot on this graphic. He stole 4 bases this last week. So I mean, man, just that power, that speed. I'm assuming he's a good defender, or at least he has the tools to be a good defender.
Three
Someone
straight
correct me if
days
I'm
with a
wrong.
walk.
Yeah. Oh man, he's gonna be a hard weight. You know.
He apparently insists that he's a shortstop too, from what they were saying.
Love
Like,
it.
he's like I'm playing shortstop. So
Oh, cool. Yeah, an outfield glove.
yeah, right. Nick
Well-
Senzel, 74 positions.
Well, I was talking to someone earlier. I mean, it definitely seems like the Reds are obviously stockpiling pitching. We see that with what they've
Yeah.
done, but it also seems like they're stockpiling like shortstop, center field type players.
Mhm.
With De La Cruz, with McLean, Senzel, even. Who am I missing?
I mean, it
Um,
makes
De
all
La
the sense in the
Cruz.
world to keep
Barrero,
those
they try to play
Yeah,
him in
middle
certain four
infielder type, like
positions.
shortstops. Because I mean, think about it. Whenever you're on a little league team, who's your best player? Shortstop, and it's kind of the same theory. Whenever you're talking about the best of the best, who's the best athlete? This guy, where's he playing shortstop? Okay, well then he can probably play anywhere else. So I love it.
Yeah, I mean, it's so much easier to fill the other positions around them if you have, you have shortstop, center field, and catcher locked up, and of course second baseman, as the Reds look like they do. Left field, right field, first base, third base. I mean, those are much easier positions to fill with at least legit major league talent. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
I mean, Ellie might get in some more LBs and move on over to first base. You might have your answer to first base right there.
Yeah.
Just gain 25 pounds of muscle. Go with Jonathan India and his off-season program, him and his dad. Get you about 25 to 30 pounds over the next 2 years and just drop Adam Dunn tanks.
Love it. I get, the more that we were like talking about Chase Petty, the more I get pumped for having Chase Petty in our organization. Man, like, just seeing the numbers, the whipping is the way how as impressive as it is. The fact he
Whipping.
throws a lot, it throws a lot of innings, strikes dudes out. This, like, I'm stoked about this guy. Like, I know Sonny Gray has like a 2.41 ERA, I think, right now for Minnesota and all, but he's also only thrown like 16 innings because he's been on the IL 14 times already. That's all exaggerations. But yeah, I'm pretty high on Chase Petty. I'm pretty excited about that, which means I just jinxed his career.
He's only 19, so he's got plenty of time to get unjinxed.
Yeah.
19.
If
Good
I like
Lord.
a player, that's not a good sign, guys. I'm just letting you know now.
Yeah. Imagine being 19 years old and striking out over a batter an inning in professional baseball.
Yeah.
That's
Crazy,
awesome.
man. Love it.
I want to get to kind of some questions and
Sure.
some more comments here. So, good kind of question here from Jim. I'm going to kind of just change it a little bit. He was talking about Toronto and the Mets. It seems like they're kind of two teams that are looking like they're more desperate for starting pitching. Seems like the Dodgers are clearly more desperate for starting pitching at this point. Curious your guys' thoughts, and I'll go first. I definitely think it's looking like now, knock on wood, they stay healthy until the deadline. Holding on to Castillo and Malley is looking like the right call because I think you're going to have teams a lot more desperate than you had back in March. I don't think Luis Castillo, I'm pretty confident, is gone in 6
same.
weeks. Malley, I don't know. I mean, maybe it's 50-50. I don't know. But it definitely feels like the haul for Luis Castillo. They wouldn't have got anything close to that back in March. Carlos, I don't know. Do you feel different at all?
No, I agree with that. People are going to realize that they're in the race and they didn't think they were going to be in it. It's going to be a lot of teams like that and that are willing to spend the money. So I definitely see the Mets as a possibility.
Bidding war. Let's go.
Can you imagine the Mets throwing out Scherzer, Castillo, like DeGrom? Like, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
they're awesome too. Like they're fun to watch.
And they get swept in a 3-game series with those three.
Right. They'll get beat somehow. Like they're the Mets, but like they're
1-0,
fun to
1-0,
watch.
1-0. 3 straight
Right.
games.
Yeah. Actually, the Reds got the Mets here in a couple weeks. I think it's Cincinnati. So 4th of July week.
Yeah. Carlos, what's your thoughts on the Ghost Runner? I don't know if I've ever heard your thoughts specifically on that.
It bothers me that they do that just because it's like just hurry up and get this game over with. That's what it feels like. They've added more players to be on the roster, so like they can have more pitchers. So it's weird that they're doing that and they're still keeping this rule around. Maybe if you want to start it like in the 12th inning, I'd be okay with that, I guess. But I don't know, man. Like last night was fun. Like I mean, you guys stayed up later than I did because the game was over at 12:30 Central. So, it was kind of fun. Being tired in the morning because I was up late last night watching a really good game. I don't know. I'm a baseball guy, so that kind of stuff. I don't care if it's a 4-hour game. Give it to me. Let's go.
Yeah, I don't care how long the game is. And I thought I would hate the Ghost Runner, but I love it. I'm sorry. I love it. I think it's awesome.
Really?
I was so against it when it first came out. I think it's fun. I love it, especially when I'm watching a non-Reds game. Because like I'm not gonna like if I turn on a game and it's close in the 8th and 9th, I'm not gonna watch some random baseball game into 15 innings. But I don't know. I
just hate it because it feels like after the first inning, like if the visiting team doesn't score, okay, that's the game.
Right. Yeah.
One thing that I think is going to be kind of cool, because remember, the Ghost Runner doesn't happen in the playoffs. So it's going to kind of maybe have like that hockey feel. I'm not a big hockey guy, but, where they don't have overtime during the they only have one overtime. They don't play like 4 or 5 overtimes during the regular season. And I know you guys, when you're on Twitter, anyone who's a hockey fan, playoff overtime, people get so excited about it. I think it could be kind of cool if you see a game in the playoffs go 13, 14, 15 innings. It's going to have a different feel than maybe it did before, but it's not something you see, very often. So I don't know. I'm sure I get killed for it, but I love it. I think it's awesome. I think it's fun. I think it creates this extra strategy, and yeah, I'm all for it.
These opinions you've been giving us here on the show and in text messages of late have just really been breaking my heart, man.
Thank you, Evan.
Something in that water in Cleveland.
Yeah. Man. Oof. I respect you too much to share what you told us in the group text this past week, but
it's okay. I like Nickelback. I jammed in Nickelback. I don't care. Proud.
Oh my God. Why did you do that, Tim? This is on you. Our street cred is going way down.
Yeah.
Son of a bitch, Tim.
We're now looking for a third member of Late Night Red Talk Live.
Oh, man. So Nick literally sent us last week, for those who are just kind of like, what the hell's going on? I made reference. It was like the Reds had lost, like it was the Wednesday game they lost. And I said, I guess it could be worse because you could have a major league team where everyone walks up to a Nickelback song. And Nick sends Carlos and I a screenshot of a Spotify playlist of all Nickelback songs, including some live tracks are in that playlist.
Tell them where they can get it at, Nick.
I think that's a private playlist.
Oh.
It better be, for your sake.
Oh, man.
Oh, man.
No one's watching right now. No one's watching. Surely.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Let's look at what's coming up for the Reds.
I'm so bummed I got tickets to Saturday because I totally forgot Hunter Green was starting Friday. Don't get me wrong, I'm excited to see Graham Ashcraft pitch against George Costanza from Seinfeld. Am I the only one that gets that joke?
I got it.
Okay.
I love Seinfeld. Is that okay to like?
Oh my God! Thank God. All right, you're redeeming yourself on me. All right, great. Yeah. So you have Hunter Green Friday against Eric Lauer, Graham Ashcraft against George Costanza, and Mike Minor against Adrian Hauser. And then the Dodgers come to town. And dude, Thursday might be a call in a sick day and go to the game because
Don't take it for granted. Don't take it for granted, Tim.
man, Hunter Green versus Clayton Kershaw. That's gonna be pretty cool.
That's a oof.
How about
Gotta go with that one.
How about 2 off days within
I
like
know.
like feels like the Reds haven't had like any off days, which has been great, man. You know, I love
Yeah.
baseball, but yeah.
Yeah. Then you got Graham Ashcraft against Cincinnati Reds legend Alex Wood on Friday in San Francisco. If that game was at GABP, I'm sure he'd get a standing ovation. Maybe a tribute video.
Oh, there's going to be some fireworks going on there, baby. Tommy Pham's
Oh
coming up
yeah.
with a scheme. He asked off today just so he could prepare even more because he's pissed. He's pissed. I wouldn't want to sit in left field if I was going to a San Francisco Giants game. I'll tell you that.
Fam's going to get put on the COVID IL on Thursday night. Hey, you tested
just
positive,
stay here, buddy.
Tommy's like, I didn't take a test. No, you're positive.
Just don't even worry about getting on the plane. Just stay at home. Select your keepers for your fantasy football league. Your draft's probably coming up in a few weeks.
God, that was so funny that San Francisco wore those shirts and he tweeted about it. Oh, yeah? All I got to do is release the messages. Nobody really cares, Tommy. It's funny.
It's just a great story at this point. I love it.
If you haven't read through Tommy Pham's tweets, and I'm talking, you got to hit the replies. Like, he doesn't like send like tweets without replies very often. Read through the replies to some of the things. It is
Fundamundo.
It's exhilarating.
Unless you're a scout from another professional team, please don't.
Yeah.
It'll bring into his character into judgment.
Yeah.
Well, I think we could cross San Francisco and San Diego out as potential.
Yeah. Maybe
fits.
St. Louis as well.
St. Louis gave a standing ovation. Not standing ovation, but they were
because they're the best fans in baseball and they know.
Yeah, they understand.
Real recognize real.
Yeah.
So here's a look at the upcoming schedule. As you see, like we just mentioned, we got another 6-game homestand, and then they go to the Giants, and then the Cubbies. Are we bringing Joey back on for the Cubbies series?
Yeah, I missed him last time.
Or did we run that? Did we run that ticket too many times?
I don't see why.
All right.
No.
Cool.
How about the random doubleheader against the Pirates on July 7th?
I was going to ask, since you love doubleheaders against the Pirates, will you be coming down for that?
Yeah, on a Thursday.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Joey's not going to like this. Padres are whooping up on the Cubs again.
Oh,
You've now tuned into Late Night Padres Talk with Carlos.
How about Tucker Barnhart?
11-4, top of the 5th. Top prospect for Chicago. What's his name? Killian?
Christopher Morel?
He doesn't count. He's already a big leaguer. Killian is his name. Joey said he was going to have a great game and show up today, and he did not.
Yeah. I don't know, man. Well, is there anything else we can touch on before we get out of here? Did I miss anything? Did we miss anything?
No, I just want to make sure. Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
So make sure we shout out Just Baseball Prospect Show. Aram, super kind to us coming on our show and giving the top prospects. So Reds fans, tune into that. That'll be a good time. We were kind of jumbled at the beginning, so wanted to make sure we really gave them a shout out. I think that'll be a fun show. I'll definitely be watching.
Yeah. And I did drink some caffeine tonight, so I was full of energy, and my power went out right as we started the show. Just my luck. So thanks for holding it down last week. I'm an old man, apparently. I'm the youngest guy on the show and the oldest at the same time. So I appreciate you guys holding it down while I was way out of it. So appreciate it, dudes.
Anytime. We're here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, cool, guys. So this has been fun. Got a nice homestand coming up. I'll be at the park Saturday. If you guys see me there and you know who I am for some odd reason, say hi. But other than that, be sure to check
You
out.
got to make your way on TV somehow, Tim.
I'm not Nick Kirby, okay?
You're the only one on this podcast who has not been on TV.
You were on TV?
The Reds game. At a Reds game. Yeah.
Wait, I was on
When?
TV?
Yeah. From Boston?
Oh, yeah, I was.
Cincinnati's in Boston. I'm going to go see him play at Fenway. Good idea. Oh, there's Nick Kirby. Friend of the broadcast.
I didn't know he was here.
Little pop to first. We saw him when the Reds were in Cleveland. Yeah. Does an awesome job chronicling the Reds through his fandom and his journalism. And the Late Night Reds pod is on point. Whenever the first 5-game win streak comes, Annie Sabo's appearance means she's going to sport Dad's goggle rec spec look.
Oh, nice.
She declared that, yeah.
So
I didn't get to play it last week because I couldn't cue myself up to it. So
I have to ask
you fell
because
asleep.
yeah, sorry. So what was your phone like in that moment? Because I know like we were texting you, but I can only imagine like everyone under the sun. Did you just feel like the constant buzzing in your pocket?
Well, like I was like consciously at Fenway, like trying to not have my phone out like the whole
Sure.
time. You know, it was like I was like I want to make sure I'm enjoying this. So like I hadn't pulled it out for like at least an inning, which that's a lot for Nick Kirby. And then all of a sudden it's just like it's like what is going on here? Like my phone just like nonstop. So yeah, it was wild. That was cool.
Carlos and I had to go on air right after that, and we were like, "Well, all the advertising has been done for us." So, well, perfect. Well, guys, we're rambling at this point. Thank you all so much for everything. Have a good night. We'll talk soon.
Go Longhorns.
And go Irish on Friday. Carlos.
You're not allowed to sing the national anthem now.
Yeah.
So they're going up.
And don't forget to check out our good friends who bring you this show, Bet Online. Get your 50% welcome bonus. Have a good night, everybody.